I would like to show you this simple simulation, FET simulation. This is a very illuminating simulation. Okay, so what does it show? There is a parallel plate capacitor here, and a battery is connected to that. But the battery has shown 0 volt, so the capacitor is not charged. Now, if you increase the battery voltage, you can see that the charge is being deposited. And if I increase all the way to 1.5 volt, which is the maximum voltage this battery can supply, there is maximum amount of charge. Okay. Now, one thing what you can do, which you have already learned in the previous lecture, by changing the distance between the plates, you can increase the capacitance. You can see on the top here, like, and you can also check top plate charge, stored energy, right, and electric field, right? So I have checked all boxes here. So you can see, please see the bar chart all the way at the top. When I increase and decrease the separation, how the capacitance, charge stored, and energy change, right? When the capacitance increases, when I bring the plates closer, the capacitance increases, the charge, amount of charge stored increases, and accordingly energy, that yellow bar, you can see that also increases, right? And accordingly, so also when you increase the plate, change the plate size, right? So accordingly, those quantities change. So when you make the plates bigger and bigger, charge, the capacitance becomes more, and amount of charge becomes more, and then energy stored also becomes more. One thing in this particular simulation, what remains constant is the potential difference. For example, you can measure this potential difference by connecting the two plates, right? So whatever you do, connecting the voltmeter to two plates, see there is 1.5 volt. So if you decrease or increase the plate size, the potential difference remains the same. So that is very important thing, because the reason is, see, you see again 1.5 volt. The reason is the battery has a constant potential difference, right? So that maintains the potential difference. Please play with this simulation. This is a very illuminating simulation. It will help you understand the concept. Okay. So with that, so I'll now start the lecture, PowerPoint lecture. Okay. So that is energy stored in the capacitor. So here you will see a picture, right? So this is a very interesting picture. This is what is called the Z machine. Z is this Z machine. You can Google that. This was the experiment done by Sandia National Lab in Albuquerque, in New Mexico. So it shows the discharging of capacitors. So you can also watch YouTube videos on the Z machine. It is very, very interesting experiment. Like this, picture is from the textbook, right? So you can see in the textbook. One important thing we are going to learn in this lecture is the energy stored in a capacitor. So that is given by this equation. Energy stored is U is equal to half is constant, C is the capacitance, V is the potential difference across the capacitor, right? So that's the formula. We will derive that formula, and we'll also apply that formula in solving some problems. Okay. So the objectives of this lecture is basically we would like to calculate energy stored in the capacitor. There are other objectives also which you saw in the previous lecture too. For example, capacitance, we define the capacitance, right? We derive the expressions for capacitance in equivalent capacitance in series and parallel, right? That's what we did in the previous lecture. Okay, this is a very busy slide. Please don't worry, I will explain it, but I have made the slide busy so that you can read and understand things in here. Okay, so here is a capacitor, parallel plate capacitor. with two plates, the upper plate and the lower plate. Each of the plates have area A. Okay, so when I connect this capacitor with a battery to a battery, so what does it do? It maintains a potential difference. It maintains a potential difference. Here I have shown VAB, but you can simply write VAB is equal to V. VAB is equal to V. That is the potential difference between the two plates, right? So what does this potential difference do is it drives charge. And what flow in the circuit are the electrons. So the electrons flow, right? So this upper plate is positive terminal, lower plate is negative terminal, right? So what happens that electrons from the upper plate are pulled and then they flow through the battery and then are collected in the lower plate. So since electrons are removed from the upper plate, the charge developed in the upper plate is positive, and the same amount of charge with opposite sign will be developed in the lower plate. Okay, so that is how a capacitor is charged. Okay, and one very important point is the amount of charge in the plates is the same. The magnitude is same, right? Equal amount, but one plate has positive charge, other plate has negative charge. Equal in amount, but opposite in sign. Okay, so when this process happens, what happens that the charge is stored in the capacitors, and an electric field is developed. Electric field is produced between the plates, and in that electric field, energy is stored, right? So the battery does work, and that work done is converted into electrical potential energy, which is stored in the electric field of the capacitor, right? So what we already know from the previous classes is that work done per unit charge is the potential difference. Okay, by the way, here the V, the letter V represents the potential difference. Okay, since this is the symbol used in the book, so I am using that. Okay, so work done per unit charge is the potential difference. So suppose there is a small amount of charge dq, which is the language of calculus, right, driven through the battery at potential V, right? So in that case, a small amount of work done is dW. So that is a small amount of work done. So if the total amount of charge driven by the battery is Q, which is the maximum amount of charge, let's say, so how much is the total work done? So we have the language of calculus. The total amount of work done can be calculated by doing integration. Okay, so what you do, you integrate this from 0 charge to Q charge. But since here in this expression, you see there is a mixture of variables, V, capital V, and dq. So we cannot integrate right away. So what we do is we have this formula Q is equal to CV, right? So we will convert that V in terms of Q. So V is equal to Q over C. So that's what I use here. So now, since for a given capacitor, C is constant, so you pull out of the integral sign, right? So what you get is Q dq, right? So you can integrate that by using power rule in calculus. Right? What is that? So integrate dxn dx, which is nothing but that comes to be xn plus 1 over n plus 1, right? That is the integration, right? So once you do that, you get q square over 2 and put the upper limit and the lower limit, so you will get this expression. So that is the work done by the battery, right? So what happens here, this work done is stored as the potential energy. So you can write that potential energy, right? This is equal to the potential energy stored in the capacitor, right? But by using the formula Q equal to CV, you can manipulate and then express this formula in terms of C and V or Q and V, right? So that gives the energy stored in the capacitor. Now you may have a question, which formula do we use? So you can use any of these formulas to calculate energy stored in a capacitor. For example, you can use Q square over 2C if Q and C is given to you, if they are given to you. If C and V are given, please use the second formula. If Q and B are given to you, then use the third formula. Okay. So, for example, we can apply that to calculate the energy stored in these capacitors. So, what is happening here is we have connected a battery which is 90 volts, right? We have connected a 90-volt battery across the combination of three capacitors. There is C1, there is C2, there is C3. There are three capacitors connected between point A and point B, right? So how do we calculate the total energy? The total energy stored, to calculate the total energy stored, what you can do is you can calculate equivalent capacitance. So how do you calculate equivalent capacitance? So this is a mixed combination. First, you need to identify which of these capacitors are definitely in series or definitely in parallel. For example, if you consider point between this point and this point, so capacitors C2 and C3 are in parallel. C2 is parallel to C3. Okay. So in the previous class, we learned that when two capacitors are in parallel, the equivalent capacitance can be obtained by adding the capacitance, right? So that is simply 12 microfarad, because C2 is 3, C3 is 9, so you'll simply add them. So that is 12 microfarad. So now what you do, you remove this combination, right? And then put this equivalent capacitance C23, which I have denoted by C23. By the way, you can draw that circuit to make things clear. So like, for example, right, plus and minus, right? So that is the point A, and then that is capacitor C1, okay, C1, and the equivalent capacitance C23 is this, right? So this is the point B. So you can clearly see that now C1 and C23 are clearly in series, because there is only one path between point A and point B. So now what do? You will find the equivalent capacitance of those two capacitors by using the formula which I have done in the previous lecture, right? So once you plug the value of C1, which is 4 microfarad, C23, which we just calculated, is 12 microfarad. So once you do that, you get the equivalent capacitance, which is 3 microfarad, right? So now once you know that, you can find the total charge driven by the battery, which is C equivalent times V, right? So C equivalent is 3 microfarad. V is the potential difference supplied by the battery, is 90 volt. So the total charge driven by the battery is 270 microcoulomb. So by the way, C1 is in series with this combination, right? So C1 stores this amount of charge, the same amount of charge in series. That's what we learned in the previous lecture, right? So how much is the energy stored in C1? In the capacitor C1, we know the capacitance, we know the charge stored, so you can calculate energy stored in there. And then if you plug in those numbers and simplify, you will get that the energy stored is 9.11 millijoule. Okay, so plug those numbers and try yourself, right? So now if you want to calculate what is the potential difference across V1, across C1, sorry, capacitance C1, you know the charge in the capacitor C1 and the capacitance of the capacitor itself. So once you divide, you will get this volts. So out of 90 volts supplied by the battery, 67.5 volts comes here. Okay, 67.5 volts comes here. So how much is the remaining volts? How much is the remaining voltage supplied by the battery? That is 90 minus 67.5 volt. So that the remaining is 22.5 volts. So that 22.5 volt is the potential difference across C2 or across C3, because C2 and C3 are in parallel. When capacitors are connected in parallel, the potential difference remains the same. Okay, in series, potential difference will be added. In parallel, potential difference remains the same, right? So in this case, now you know C2, you know C3 For example, if you would like to calculate energy stored in C2, right, then you can do U2 is equal to half C2 V2 square. You use that formula because we know C2, we know V2, and then you will get that energy. In the same way, you can calculate energy stored in capacitor 3, which is half C3 V3 square. So that is the energy stored in the capacitor C3. Now, what is the total energy stored? The total energy stored is equal to energy stored in capacitor C1, energy stored in capacitor C2, energy stored in capacitor C3. So add all those numbers. Energy is a scalar quantity. You can simply add that, right? Right? So you can also calculate the total energy stored just by using U is equal to half C equivalent V square. For C equivalent, we have calculated C equivalent to be 3 microfarad. That is the equivalent capacitance for the whole circuit, right? And V, for the whole circuit, we have supplied the potential difference of 90 volt, right? So see, that number comes to be the same as that number, okay? So you can try this question, calculate the charge stored in C2 and C3. Please try. I have given the answers here, okay? So one other concept physicists like is energy density, right? So energy density, just like mass density is mass per unit volume, energy density is energy stored per unit volume, right? So energy is measured in joules, volume is measured in cubic meter, so the unit of energy density is joule per cubic meter. Now, if you consider this capacitor here, so what is the volume of this space between the two plates? You know the area, you know the separation between them. So area times separation is the volume, just like the volume of your room. Volume of your room is volume of the area of the floor times the height, right? So what is the energy density denoted by small letter U is energy U divided by volume. So energy is half CV square, we calculated in the previous slide, right? And divide by volume. So if you do manipulation, simplify, then you will get something like this: epsilon naught A over D, D over A E square, right? So you can rearrange this way, right? You can rearrange this way. So then what you see is A over D and D over A, they will cancel, right? So finally you will get this very elegant, very beautiful formula. Energy density, that is energy per unit volume, is half epsilon naught, which is permittivity of free space, 8.85 times 10 to the power minus 12. I'll give you that number in the exams. In homework, you can consult your book and is the energy, is the electric field. So that's how we can calculate the energy density, right? So one more thing, probably you did a simulation in the previous worksheet, right? I recommended that, right? So that actually I asked that question in the worksheet, previous worksheet. So please do the simulation and answer those questions if you have not submitted yet. So one thing what we can do is we can increase the capacitance of a capacitor by inserting a material called dielectric. Okay, so the material which is insulating material, right, sandwiched between the conducting plates, right? So if you consider that there is air or vacuum, that is the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor. We derived that in previous slide, right? One of the slides. But once you insert the dielectric material, you need to replace epsilon naught with epsilon, which is permittivity of the material. So once you divide equation 1 by equation 2, you get the ratio of the capacitance of the capacitor with dielectric divide by without dielectric. So once you take that ratio, this constant is called, you will get a constant quantity called dielectric constant for that material. So if you simplify, you see that the capacitance of a capacitor, when you put the dielectric material, is boosted up. It increases by a factor of K, called the dielectric constant. So here is a list of some materials with different dielectric constant. One thing I would like to alert you, although water has very high dielectric constant, very high dielectric constant in this list, you cannot use water as a dielectric material. The reason is water it is very difficult to get very pure water. You can find distilled water, but you can use distilled water, but still there might be some ions present, right? So one way to increase the capacitance of a capacitor is use dielectric material. Okay, so here are a couple of problems. They are straightforward, right? And there are some other problems in test your understanding questions. So as usual, as in the previous lecture, so please go over them. Okay, so